Hey, 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 everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday in particular. Today is my favorite day of the entire church calendar. Maybe it's morbid. I don't know, but I've always loved Good Friday and the reminder that even in the darkest moments of human history, we always have a reason to find hope and to seek faith in something bigger than the chaos, the destruction, and the devastation of this world. This is literally such a beautiful day inside the church, around the world, and I could not be more happy to be spending this Good Friday with each and every one of you. Thank you so much for spending some of your Good Friday and Easter weekend with us. We're doing the stream a little bit earlier than what we normally do, and actually our viewership is pretty darn great right now at the beginning of this hour, so we might have to explore making this a permanent time. Let me know in the chat if you guys like this time of 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. It seems to be going pretty positively as we kick off the stream right now. We've got some great engagement in our live chat. We are concurrently live as we speak on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, our OG Getter gang with the streaming gang, and over in our locals community. I'm going to come back to locals in just a second, but for those of you who might be new to the stream from following me on Instagram or on TikTok, because I know there's a lot more of you around here these days than where there used to be, I'll take a second and introduce myself because we probably have some first-time viewers on the stream today. My name is Isabel Brown. I am an independent content creator and live streamer, and every single day stream live to give you a Gen Z perspective on everything that is going on in the world. In addition to all of my live streaming content, I do a lot of short form video content that gets put out into the ecosystem in YouTube Shorts format and Instagram Reels and TikTok videos, which we have a lot of fun with, and just recently launched a couple of series that live exclusively over on locals. I'm also an author. You can find my first book hiding behind me right here called Frontlines, and I'm working on some other fun writing things at the moment and do a lot of speaking events all over the world. I know we have viewers on the stream from literally all over the world, and we will say hi to you in just a second. But basically, bottom line of what I do for a job is every single day I get up and I tell people the truth in whatever capacity that looks like. That could be writing a chapter of a book. It could be one of these live streams. It could be a news hit. I'm actually going to be on Fox News tonight, and I'll remind you at the end of the stream about where to tune in for that, or a 15-second TikTok video or anything in between. But I am incredibly blessed that this gets to be my life and that I am directly connected to each and every one of you on a day-by-day basis. This community just continues to grow every single day, and I could not be more grateful for all of your guys' support along the way. We'll say hi to some people in just a second, but I do want to remind you that this week we launched our 2 brand new series exclusively for our locals community. If you guys don't know what locals is, it's kind of like a Twitch, but not all live streaming. It's kind of like Patreon, where you can go support your favorite independent creators and help keep them independent. It is no surprise that this stream is incredibly grassroots. It happens in the spare bedroom of my apartment. Nothing hugely fancy going on over here, but all of your guys' support in subscribing to our locals content and just helping to make this independent content creation journey happen is what helps us get better microphones and better cameras and more opportunities to continue expanding the stream and growing our audience across platforms as an independent creator. Over on locals, we offer 2 exclusive series that just launched this week. A lot of you guys have tuned in, which is awesome. We have about 350 people over in our locals community and a couple dozen subscribers to those series as well that launched this week. The first is Outdated, which we do a new episode for every single Tuesday, breaking down the lies of modern culture when it comes to dating and relationships and unpacking subjects like pursuing marriage or what's wrong with pornography or how your hormonal birth control is poisoning you and everything in between. It's super spicy and very fun and definitely a foil to most dating shows that are out there, as well as our show Domus that we just started as a brand new series yesterday on Holy Thursday, unpacking the big questions about faith and spirituality and the church. We have an incredible lineup of guests coming to Domus in the next several weeks, including next week with Matt Fradd, the host of Pints with Aquinas, kicking off our amazing guests. So could not be more excited to share these Locals series with you that are offered exclusively over there. I'm dropping the link right now in our live chat for you to go become a member of our Locals community. It is free to become a member of the community, but we do charge $5 a month for our exclusive series. I have to actually type it into our Getter chat because for some reason it won't let me copy and paste a link. But if that is a financial hardship or financial burden for you guys, just send me a message on one of my social media channels and we will try to get you access to those series. Anyway, all right, let's say hi to some people before diving into our subject tonight, which is just absolutely insane. I have been glued to my Twitter feed all day, which is a rare thing for me to say. You guys know that I hate Twitter, but I'm just really blown away what happened with Riley Gaines over at San Francisco State University last night. What is happening on college campuses with these extreme protests and the Antifa style violence to silence free speech and silence people who think differently than you is completely unacceptable. And this very much mirrors and is incredibly scary what happened with myself and with Kristen Hawkins a few days ago at Virginia Commonwealth University. Let me tell you what, if you guys caught that stream from my hotel room in Richmond, Virginia, discussing all of the violence that we experienced in the assaulting protests that we experienced at VCU the other day, you will know just how crazy it is. If you didn't get to catch that stream, go back a few days. It was last Wednesday, I believe. It was horrifying. And like genuinely, I wasn't that scared in the moment, but now in retrospect, it was totally scary that college students, girl college students were getting punched in the face by biological men because we were daring to say that we should have a conversation about what it means to be pro-life and invite actual dialogue between pro-life and pro-abortion students and everyone in between. It was insane. So go back and rewatch that stream. We're going to be talking tonight about what happened with Riley Gaines at San Francisco State University. And I'm making sure we are linked here over on Twitter because I forgot we're not streaming on Twitter anymore. So thank you guys for your patience. And let's say hello to some people in our live chat across platforms right now. Over on YouTube, we've got Amplified Truth watching. Jesse Campbell is watching. LGM is watching. We've got Abby watching from Texas. Cooper is watching from France. Bonjour. Thank you so much for being here. That's amazing. Jamesy is watching on YouTube from Saskatoon, Canada, which is awesome. LGM likes the 3 p.m. Eastern streaming time. That is good to know. I think more of our European friends can actually catch this time too before they go to sleep in the middle of the night. So that is an interesting thought to think about. Over on Facebook, Brad is watching. Mark is watching. Surya just jumped on YouTube. On Rumble, we've got several people watching, but only one of you taking advantage of the chat. Rumble people, we've got to get you in this live chat. It is way more fun when you guys are participating in the conversation. Mike Golf 2017 is watching from Georgia, which is awesome. Your handle probably indicates that you may be excited about the Augusta Masters happening right now. Tons of people are over in our OG Getter chat. Sam7 is watching. J-Note is also watching from Canada. Hello to our Canadian friends in the Great White North. Michael Priest is watching. Arizona KC is watching. We've got Gerald watching. I'm so glad you're here. I'm scrolling through here. We've got Nitty Witty in our chat. We love Nitty Witty. Nitty Witty says, how about different times on different days of the week so that more people can be accommodated for the streams? That's a great suggestion. It's just really hard to implement when you have a different time of day every single day because nobody really remembers that. So we're testing out different times right now, which I know is why it's been bouncing around a little bit. We used to be streaming every night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we experimented a little bit this week with 5 p.m. Eastern, which you guys seem to like, but this is easily the highest viewership that we've had this week in real time, from what I can tell, right at the beginning of a stream. So I think people seem to be liking this time. Let me know if you really don't like it in the chat. Alex Padron is watching over on Locals. GKU is watching over on Locals, and several others as well. Tyler Hassan, pineapple on pizza, burner mail, everybody. Victoria just joined us on YouTube, and Richard just joined us from Deep South Alabama on Facebook. I love you guys using this chat. Keep jumping in the chat. Let us know what you think of the stream and give us your thoughts throughout the entirety of our conversation today. Okay, let's jump right in to today's conversation because I want to make sure we make the most of our time. I don't know if you've seen this yet. We're going to watch the videos together and be able to react to them in real time. But what happened last night with a Turning Point USA speaking event at San Francisco State University should terrify each and every one of you, regardless of whether you would consider yourself to be a conservative, regardless of whether you would consider yourself to support what this speaker was saying on campus. For context, Riley Gaines is a former NCAA swimmer from the University of Kentucky, regularly competed against Will Thomas at several different NCAA swimming competitions for women's swimming, has now, after graduation, begun speaking out on behalf of the Independent Women's Forum, which is an organization that does unbelievably fantastic work out of Washington, D.C., to discuss disadvantages for biological women when biological men are allowed to compete with them in NCAA sports, and how this really should be a violation of Title IX. And if we're really serious about supporting women, it starts with allowing women to have their own spaces, right? Which never used to be this conspiracy theory, right-wing extremist talking point, right? Like, I never thought really extreme conservatives would be the ones defending Title IX until the day that we die, but apparently that's just where we're at right now. Several sports have begun speaking out against this type of inclusion, saying that it's not fair to women and really puts women at a disadvantage or even harms their physical safety, including surfing. The Surfing Association has said that no men can compete in women's surfing. Now, the Olympics Committee, everybody that oversees the Olympics and worldwide athletics, has said that you have to actually monitor your testosterone levels in order to compete with women. It's becoming a lot more nuanced thanks to the outspoken courage of people like Riley Gaines, and she is just an absolute warrior for truth, an incredible athlete for one, but beyond that, someone who is taking the courage that I'm sure she developed through Division I NCAA swimming to share with other Gen Zers our age the truth in a world that is running away from truth. So she was invited by the Turning Point USA chapter at San Francisco State University to speak last night on behalf of women's equality in college athletics and how we can support women by being actual feminists instead of allowing biological men to beat biological women in their athletics facilities and athletics departments. And as you've noticed probably in the last few weeks, the protests that are happening on college campuses for groups like Turning Point USA or Students for Life, or really anyone who doesn't buy into an all-out Marxist, authoritarian, totalitarian agenda, those protests have been heating up and becoming much more intense, much more scary, much more violent, and much more hell-bent on kicking off, even from a public university campus, any invited speaker that is allowed to speak their truth, speak the peace of the world, and bring people together in real dialogue and educate people and challenge them to embrace a different perspective from what they may be surrounded with every single day, which, if you know anything about college campuses, is what college is supposed to be all about. I wrote about this in my book, Frontlines, about my college experience at Colorado State University when I was a student activist inviting speakers like this to campus. And Antifa was just coming onto the scene. It was kind of a new idea when Antifa would come protest your campus. And what we were seeing in Fort Collins, Colorado, was wild compared to what anybody else in America was witnessing at that time. The National Guard for the state of Colorado had to come several times when we invited Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and Dennis Prager to come speak on campus. But we really weren't seeing that around the country as the norm, particularly if your speaker that you had invited didn't have millions of followers on social media and wasn't on Fox News all the time and the whole nine beyond that. So really this idea that people like me and people like Riley Gaines would be violently protested by Antifa, who has no idea who we actually are, by the way. Like, none of these people have any interest in learning what our actual beliefs are. They just see one post on Twitter by the local Antifa chapter encouraging them to go shut down this event, and they are not interested in any dialogue whatsoever. So it's been wild to see this continue to escalate and become more intense and more violent from every campus to campus. But really, it's all come to a head in the last month or so, where these people feel so comfortable not just yelling and screaming to shut down your event, not just being willing to threaten violence at your event to shut it down, like a bomb threat or threatening to physically harm the speaker, not just chanting and chanting and chanting and getting in your face but not touching you to shut down the event to make people think that violence is going to happen, but allowing actual violence to happen. A few weeks ago, Charlie Kirk and my friend Joe Bob were speaking at the University of California, Davis, and I'm sure many of you saw the clips where they literally took like battering rams and shattered all of the glass doors into the facility with the Antifa-style protesters and radical left protesters there to try to shut down the event. And of course, the police force did a fantastic job holding those people off, but talk about actual destruction of property and actual physical violence. As you know, if you watched last week's stream from my recent event at Virginia Commonwealth University, Kristen Hawkins, the fellow speaker on her speaker tour, and I were completely silenced from moment one of our event with dozens upon dozens of violent, radical leftist, radical trans, and Antifa protesters who were hell-bent on inflicting physical violence on those at our event to the point that it had to be shut down. And we were locked in a safe room for several hours and essentially detained by the campus police while many of those protesters were allowed to walk scot-free. 2 arrests were made, including physical assault, and the chapter president of the Students for Life chapter at Virginia Commonwealth University was in fact physically assaulted and was injured. And then last night, Riley Gaines was invited to give her perspective at San Francisco State University as a women's swimmer who is impacted by these trans policies, allowing a biological male to compete with her at the NCAA swimming level, and of course was physically assaulted herself as the speaker. These videos that we're about to watch are incredibly intense and jarring. It's not actually the video of her becoming assaulted in the moment. This is after she had already been punched in the face, but essentially a biological male who identifies as a woman, wearing a dress, dressed as a woman, pinned Riley down in the middle of her speech in this classroom at San Francisco State University and began repeatedly punching her. She was punched twice, according to her testimony on social media, and was physically assaulted in many other ways. And the police officers had to escort her from the building for her own safety, but they couldn't originally because not only was she physically assaulted, she was actually held hostage and essentially kidnapped by these students and protesters at San Francisco State University for daring to speak the truth in a world rejecting that very concept. Taking a look at her Twitter, which has exploded in following today, which I'm very happy to see from everybody who has followed her as a result of this insanity. Again, her name's Riley Gaines, so go give her some love and support in the midst of all of this insanity. If we scroll down a little bit right here, I'm going to turn on the volume in just a second. Initially, these activists and protesters held Riley hostage in this room that she was assaulted in by saying that they were going to demand money in exchange of letting her out of the room. You'll see the video as we make it bigger here in a second. The police officers are standing in the doorway, but there's no pathway, no opportunity for her to leave the building because so many dozens of these people like crunched in on the door of the classroom to make sure she couldn't leave and started demanding money in exchange for her safe passage off of the San Francisco State University campus. Listen to this.
And what we're hoping to do is to keep things peaceful and
make her lose her pride
and move forward. Okay? Tell her to pay us. Tell her to pay us.
Tell her to pay us. Tell her to pay us, they're saying.
Because she probably got paid for this shit, so we could get paid for it too.
Did you hear that? She probably got paid for this shit. In other words, she probably got paid to give this speech, which is probably not true, actually. Most of these campus speeches don't involve speaking fees or speaking engagement fees because we just like to be on campus. So we should get paid for this too. We should get paid for holding her hostage too.
That we appease.
So what's the end goal here? We're cooperating, so what's next?
So this is when things start to heat up. This girl in the back, I know it's really hard to see. It's small. I just want to make sure that you guys will be able to see it. We'll try to blow it up here in a second when we watch it a second time. This girl, who you'll recognize in a later video, starts to say, what's the end goal? What's the end goal? They don't have an end goal right here. They're just like holding her hostage and demanding money. And this is when all the different factions of protesters and different groups of people who are disorganized start coming together and coming up with a game plan to physically assault and threaten the safety and even life of Riley Gaines for going to say that women should be able to compete in their own space against men.
So they need to do their job and get her out. We created a path.
The police need to do their job and get her off campus. That's what they're saying.
I can't speak to all of you when we're over talking to each other.
Then they have this like kumbaya, don't talk over each other. Let's come up with a plan to defeat fascism moment.
So what we want to do is maintain what we're doing right now.
Maintain what we're doing right now. That's our plan. I'll try to make this a little bit bigger right here. Yeah, here we go. So this,
Make her lose her pride.
make her lose her pride.
Tell her to pay us.
Tell her to pay us. Ha
$10 each.
ha ha ha.
Because she probably got paid for this shit, so we could get paid for it too.
She probably got paid for this shit, so we should get paid for it too.
What's the end goal here?
Right? It's hard. I can't show you my cursor right now, but right behind the tall guy with the mask standing right in front of the door, that's where the entrance to the room is. So they essentially like block off the entire hallway to make sure that Riley cannot go free and demand that they get paid by San Francisco State University, by somebody, to allow for her safe passage and not be physically harmed. Matt Walsh said this perfectly. This is kidnapping. Riley Gaines, it's at least detainment. Riley Gaines should pursue felony charges against every single person in that hallway. They should all be expelled and thrown in prison. There's nothing ambiguous about this. Harassment, intimidation, kidnapping. Go after them, Riley. Make them pay. So she's in this room. I've not yet seen a video. I don't know if there is a video yet of her being physically assaulted and punched in the face. All we know is the testimony that she shared. I'm sure there's not a video of it because honestly, what I learned from being in this type of environment at VCU, it's really hard to capture everything in the moment because so much is going on. And it all happens so quickly. And when you are the speaker, you're usually not thinking about recording it. Luckily, I had Instagram live streamed our experience at VCU, but Riley probably wasn't thinking about that in the moment, nor should she have to, because she was invited to go speak there. So this is what happened afterwards, later on in the hallway, after she had been physically assaulted and the police saw an opportunity to get her out into the hallway. Let's turn on our volume here. This has almost 4 million views now, which is incredible to see.
It's just me. I'm good. I'm good. You got me. I'm good. I'm coming. I'm good. I'm good. Trust me. I'm good. Go ahead.
Remember that girl? So what's our end goal here? What are we going to do here? What's the end goal? She knew exactly what her end goal was. To literally threaten the safety and life of Riley Gaines for daring to say that men are different from women. Okay, you're dressed like a communist, says that girl? Oh, okay. cheering that they got her off of campus.
You have to disperse.
We have to disperse. Did you hear that at the end? We have to disperse so that they don't arrest us. Unbelievable. Again, from the beginning here, this is Riley Gaines being quickly and very swiftly escorted off campus by the police after she had been punched repeatedly by a man in a dress. This shot right here absolutely terrifies me. I'll pause it.
I'm coming. I'm good. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good. Go ahead.
When you turn this around and go back into the hallway. Oh, I missed it. We'll go back to the beginning.
It's just me. I'm good.
It's hard to see. Way back in the background behind those people, could you imagine how absolutely horrifying it would be to have dozens of people, an angry, violent mob, storming down a hallway, running, chasing after you to try to physically assault you because you dare to say that men are different from women and that women's equality should exist in society. And these are the same people that will call themselves feminists. The same people. I'm unbelievably grateful that I had private security that was hired by Students for Life of America at our event at Virginia Commonwealth University. It looks like from this event, Riley probably didn't have private security, which is why that physical assault was enabled to take place. But at what point are we going to say this is going too far? You do not see this type of behavior in reverse. If we roll out the Uno reverse card, you do not see conservatives on campus physically assaulting pro-trans speakers. You do not see pro-life students on campus physically assaulting students who stand up for abortion. You do not see pro-America or pro-religious students physically assaulting people who wish for the death and destruction of this country and Christianity and Western civilization and Judeo-Christian values as you know it. And yet those students, the pro-life Christian conservative pro-America students that are being physically assaulted by a violent, angry mob, they're the fascists. They're labeled as the fascists. It's unbelievable. And this is bad enough in and of itself, right? The fact that these universities are empowering this behavior, enabling this behavior, refusing to hold those students empowering this behavior accountable by punishing them for their consequences of their actions, which seem to no longer exist, that's bad enough. The universities all across America, virtually every college campus in America, that are refusing to actually educate students and encourage them to embrace a different perspective, to change their mind on something, to challenge their notions of what they believe in, refusing to do that, that's bad enough. Okay? All of this is bad enough. But where it really goes unbelievably too far for me is when our nation's leadership, that is tasked by the Constitution to uphold our most basic human rights, rights like freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom to assemble to hear that speech, particularly based in objective truth like men being different from women and women deserving actual equality in society, when those people that are tasked with upholding the Constitution throw it away, back over it with their truck, and drag it through the mud, like we see with the Biden administration every single day. Make no mistake about it. The rhetoric that is coming from the Biden administration, from the Biden White House, from our current White House press secretary, and from Democrats and many Republicans alike on Capitol Hill, is enabling and empowering this behavior, and it has got to stop. Just a few days ago, after a horrifyingly violent mass shooting took place at a Christian school in Nashville, you didn't see the president stand up for Christians on the other end of violence. You didn't see Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer stand up for the Christian community that was deeply targeted by a deranged individual who was struggling with their gender identity, saying that that violence should never happen. No. You saw the Biden White House stand up and declare an official National Remembrance Day of trans visibility on what was supposed to be the Trans Day of Vengeance. You didn't see the people advertising for Trans Day of Vengeance censored on social media. Nope. You saw the Christian and Catholic commentators and content creators and podcast hosts that I work every day censored instead, like Michael Knowles and Kristen Hawkins, who were kicked off Twitter temporarily for sharing the original flyer about Trans Day of Vengeance, insinuating violence on the platform. When you see this type of behavior occurring from men in women's dresses, grown men pinning down a 20-something-year-old woman and repeatedly punching her, repeatedly inflicting physical violence upon her, you don't see this White House condemning that behavior. No, you see this White House continue to say things like this.
More than 50% of transgender youth in the U.S., which is estimated to be more than 150,000 kids, live in states in which transgender youth have lost access to or at risk of losing access to gender-affirming care. Look, this is awful news. Let's be very clear about that. LGBTQI+ kids are resilient. They are fierce. They fight back. They're not going anywhere. And we have their back. This administration has their back.
Make no mistake about it. Calling to fight back to a community that has now taken it upon themselves to inflict as much violence as possible on people who disagree with them, those two things are directly related. And how incredible that conservatives, those evil people, I gotta plug in my mouse, that conservatives, those evil people who support fascism, are labeled the violent extremists. How is it possible that we live in a world today that Catholic families are labeled by the FBI as violent extremists in America, but men in women's dresses who pin women down and punch them, we have nothing to say about that? How is it possible that moms and dads who go testify on behalf of their students' education and curriculum at school board meetings are labeled domestic terrorists, but Antifa activists who are men in cheerleading skirts and crop tops at my speaking event can physically assault a pro-life chapter president on campus, and none of our country's leaders have anything to say about it? How is it possible that radical leftists calling for the destruction of the nuclear family, engaging in mostly peaceful riots, burning everything in their path to the ground, are the good guys, but people like my friend Joe Bob, who will sit down and be friends with anyone in about 5 seconds, warrant Antifa protesters using battering rams to get through glass doors at UC Davis? How is this possible? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's possible. It's possible because we live in a world that has rejected reality. And if you think that there's any opportunity to go back to the good old days where that is no longer a problem and we can continue just ignoring this, not giving it a platform, refusing to bring it up on our live streams or on our podcasts or in our content, think again. We got here in 2023 America on April 7th? April 7th of 2023, where a beautiful, accomplished former NCAA Division I swimmer can be pinned down on a public university campus by a man in a dress and repeatedly punched for daring to say that women deserve actual equality because for far too long, good people sat down and shut up. For far too long, good people said, if we just ignore it, it'll go away. That's just a really tiny percentage of the population. That will never become a normal thing in society. That's just like a fringe crazy thing. Let's just ignore it. Don't even give it the time of day. Don't pay any attention to it. We got here because people with good intentions refused to step up and squash this in the moment, not in a violent way or a crazy way, but just daring to tell people the truth. We were too worried about offending people by telling them the truth that now we live in a society and a world that is post-truth. That's just the reality. And I have such a hard time sharing this with people because nobody likes to hear this, right? Nobody feels good about seeing videos like this. Nobody wants to know that this is happening in the world. It's so much easier to just bury your head and ignore it and want to run away and pretend it's not happening, right? It is so much easier for us to say, ignore it. Don't give it the time of day. Don't platform it. Don't attack it for what it is. Leave it alone. I'll do me, you do you. How unbelievably irresponsible of us to continue letting darkness and lies fester in darkness instead of bringing it into the light. Today is a day of darkness in the church calendar. And I'll get some of your guys' thoughts in the live chat here in just a second, but I need to wrap up my thoughts or my brain will lose it. Today is a dark day. Good Friday, as good as it is and as much as we love it, was a difficult day, perhaps the most difficult day in all of human history. The Messiah, the Savior of the world, the promised one who would redeem all of humanity, was brutally tortured and executed to the point that everyone thought God is dead. Our one opportunity for salvation is gone. The truth, the way, the life is dead. And our salvation is impossible. Of course, we know now, 2,000 years later, that even in the midst of the darkest day of human history, there is always a reason to have hope. And there is always a reason to get back up and continue telling people the truth. To continue standing up for biology, to continue standing up for freedom of expression, to continue standing up for human rights. Because just a few days later, that tomb was empty. And we were reminded that this unbelievably broken, sin-ridden, devil-controlled world that we live in today is not our home. It is not permanent. It's so easy to want to bury our heads in the sand and ignore what's happening in the world and just tune it all out and pretend like we live in utopia, and we don't. Moreover, we are called to go right into the heart of culture and change it from the inside out. We are called to take healing to the broken. We are called to bring truth to lies. We are called to bring light to darkness. And right now, that's really scary. It's hard to show up on college campuses when you might be physically assaulted. You might be punched in the face. It is hard to have dialogue with people who would rather threaten your life than listen to what you have to say. It's hard to listen to people who are broken and struggling and surrounded by lies all the time so that you can bring them the truth. It's hard to post something on your social media that goes against what all of your family and friends and coworkers and classmates believe. It is hard to raise your hand in your classroom to challenge something that your pastor said. It's hard to bring these things up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. But that's kind of the point. We are never promised that this life is supposed to be easy. In fact, we are overtly promised that it's going to be really, really frickin' hard. And I think from our, for lack of a better word, privileged lens of being American citizens, and some of you guys watching in Europe and Canada might agree with this, from our privileged lens, it's easy for us to say, it's supposed to be easy. Somebody else can deal with that, right? Everything is instant gratification. Everything makes me feel good all the time. I always have this community that's going to support me and back me up and do all these things. In reality, if we are willing, forget even the religious argument, but there is an element of that. If we are willing to speak truth to a world that is rejecting the very concept of truth, it is promised throughout all of human history, but particularly from God himself, that we will not be beloved. We will not have zillions of followers. We will not be adored. We will not have a million friends. We won't have an easy career. We're not going to make zillions of dollars. We are going to be hated. We're going to be persecuted. We may even be physically assaulted and punched in the face, or, God forbid, lose our lives for the things that we believe in. That's hard to wrap our heads around. But like the first Good Friday 2,000 years ago, with us sitting in the midst of this chaos and darkness, I want us to remember that right around the corner, there is reason to have hope. Because this broken world that's run by the people that you just saw in that video is not our home. And it's easy to be sucked into that or feel tempted to ignore it instead of engage with it. But we are called for so much more. Josiah in our YouTube chat just put in our chat, which I love, the light shines in the darkness and the darkness will not overcome it. That's exactly right. And that is what it's all about. Mike Golf in our Rumble channel said, all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to stand by and do nothing. We got here because good men stood by and did nothing. You're not wrong. Let's see what you guys think about all of this, because the whole thing is absolutely insane. Please join me in praying for Riley. She deserves all of our protection. Janelle on Facebook says, I'm a podcast producer and Riley had agreed to be a guest later today. She's still moving forward with it. She says that she believes sanity will eventually prevail. She said it best over on her Twitter, actually, sharing the video of what happened yesterday, that the inmates are running the asylum, and I could not have put that better myself. It's a crazy situation right now. I can't even wrap my head around it. Abby says on YouTube, typically fight back could just be used as a metaphor to stand up for beliefs, but when violence is actually happening for holding a different belief, it's just irresponsible to continue pandering that narrative from the federal government, and it's a dereliction of duty. Correct. Could you imagine, by the way, if cisgender people were violently assaulting transgender people on college campuses, and if the president of the United States had nothing to say about it? They would impeach him tomorrow. Just saying. Easy on YouTube says they have to pander to minorities to maintain relevance. It will continue to get worse until conservatives protest, until we speak up for truth. You're not wrong. Let's see what else you guys have to say. Scrolling through to make sure we didn't miss anything. Rob in our YouTube chat says, this is the modern KKK on full display. Fascinating how culture and history is completely cyclical, isn't it? It's absolutely wild. Over on Rumble, Troy says, the left hates free speech. It's crap like this why I left the Democrat Party after 10 years. We love you, Troy. Thank you so much for being here. Grateful for you. Mike says on Rumble, having a hard time not letting the bad thoughts in. The bloody history of communism gives me a visceral hatred for anyone that claims that ideology. You're not wrong, and we are getting closer and closer and closer to that every single day. I just pray that we're willing to keep speaking up about it and keep fighting back. Apparently, we've had some trolls over here in the Getter chat, which I have not noticed, so sorry, you guys, if I missed that. J Note in the chat says, I've never been scared to tell the truth on Getter. It is other people who don't like it. Really interesting anecdote here from a homily that I heard a couple of weeks ago at Mass in Phoenix. The priest, who is absolutely phenomenal, by the way, and gives amazing homilies, Father Lincoln, over at St. Bernadette's in Scottsdale, north of Phoenix in Arizona, said that truth is really hard to hear. It's like painful for people to hear, which is why so many of these people take the most extreme response possible in physically assaulting people that are telling them the truth. So when you are speaking the truth to the world, it's okay to come from a place of compassion and come from a place of caring about these people. We need to bring people truth anyway, and know that people might not respond very well to it because it's hard, it's painful to have to change your way of life or accommodate your own personal beliefs to a new lifestyle and a new way of engaging with people if you've been living in a lie and a false reality that is not based in truth in your own past. So absolutely inspiring. Jay, note that you've never been scared to tell the truth. We absolutely love it. James Robert over on Getter says, men who can't compete well in men's sports compete in women's sports. That's the real issue. Do you guys know what ranking Will Thomas had when he was competing as a man? I forget the exact number. William Thomas was the number 462 ranked swimmer in men's NCAA swimming. Leah Thomas, after William decided to compete as a woman, is the number 1 ranked swimmer in women's swimming. Of course, corporate wants you to find the differences between these two pictures. They're the same picture, in the words of The Office. Wild. Let's see what our locals chat has to say. GKU says this administration, the Biden administration, is complicit to all of this criminal behavior. Alex says this is the behavior you get when you convince these people that the people who don't affirm gender identity are hurting people. I have to paraphrase a little bit to make sure we're not kicked off everybody else, but that's exactly right, Alex. GKU says, yes, Isabel, we are called to participate in our culture. We are called to be salt and light. We must be bold and speak truth and let it set upon whom it may. It's the only thing that will make us free. Johnny Diamond says we are called for so much more. The hardest part for speaking up and speaking the truth for me these days is getting hit by a circle of wolves who hate to hear it. I will encourage each and every one of you, for all of the circle of wolves that do hate to hear truth and do get viscerally angry and want to fight back and want to assault you for speaking the truth, for every couple of those people, there is always a person who needs to hear it more than anyone else. And I'll leave you with this tonight as we round out the stream in the next few minutes and transition into Holy Weekend, where I won't be participating in social media as much as humanly possible to reconnect with faith stuff and spend some time with my family. For all of the insanity that you saw in the videos last week at my event at Virginia Commonwealth University, where people were getting assaulted, people got arrested, the event wasn't able to happen as planned, there were so many things that you didn't see behind the scenes with people who had only ever been told that abortion was good at this event, where we were talking about the lies of the pro-choice industry, the pro-abortion industry, who genuinely came to this event to ask me and Kristen legitimate questions about the abortion industry, about why we're pro-life, about how we can better support women, about how we can have better women's health care, reduce maternal mortality rates. Several people who considered themselves to be pro-abortion came to that event with an open mind and an open heart and genuinely asked us questions, and I believe changed their minds, or at least had seeds planted to change their mind later on. For all of the insanity that you see in all of these videos, there are infinitely more stories that will never make news headlines and never be covered on Fox or Primetime or on social media and become trending over on Twitter. For all of the stories that are bad, there are literally infinity stories that are powerfully good, where people are changing their minds. They are challenging their perspectives. They are opening their heart to a new lifestyle and a new way of thinking and walking in truth. And I wish we had more opportunities to see those stories, because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, right? We're never going to know how many people's minds we change, but at the end of the day, it's still our opportunity and our obligation to get out and try. Evan, thank you so much for donating in our YouTube super chat with an adorable little hippo emoji. We love to see that. That's so cute. Whenever you guys donate in our super chat, it helps to keep this independent stream going. Just in case you guys joined later on in the stream, I want to remind you to join us over in our locals community. It's kind of like a Substack or a Patreon or a Twitch subscriber base, where we have two totally dedicated series over there that dive deeper into so many of these subjects. One is called Outdated and dives into the lies of culture in dating and relationships, and where we can bring the truth to people in why pursuing marriage and family is important, why you should probably quit your hormonal birth control pills, what's wrong with modern feminism, how pornography is destroying sexual intimacy, and so much more. And every Thursday, we have a series over there that is exclusive to locals called Domus, where we dive into the big questions about faith, spirituality, and the church. We just launched those this week, and so many of you guys have already joined us over on Locals. I'm so grateful for all of your support and really excited to see how that community continues to grow. I just dropped the link in our chat for where you can join us over on Locals. And before we round out the stream tonight, I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing friends over at Public Square for sponsoring the stream. I'm going to drop a link right now in our live chat for how you can add your small business to Public Square. But if you've never heard of them before, Public Square is an online marketplace and community of tens of thousands of small businesses that share our values, that are pro-America, pro-family, pro-faith, and everything in between. We're talking about everything from CPAs who can help you do your taxes to clothing companies and coffee shops and everything else, both in your neighborhood, as you can see from the little graphic over here that has like a map tied to your zip code, as well as around the country, where you can help support them nationally when you purchase things online. They are actually getting ready to roll out digital e-commerce on their app right now, which is super exciting. And it's a great alternative to something like Amazon. So it's a great time to jump in over on Public Square, especially if you are a business owner of any kind. I don't care what your product is or what your business supports. Go put it over on Public Square, because there are literally tens of thousands of people who are looking for companies to support that share our values, and Public Square is the place to be. So if you're a business owner, use that link that I just dropped in the chat. If you are a customer looking for businesses to support, jump on over to the Public Square website, Public SQ, or you can download the Public SQ Public Square app on the App Store or the Google Play Store for your phone. We love you, Public Square. Rounding out our stream tonight, I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you who were able to stream with us. If you liked this time, let me know really quick in the live chat as we round out, because it looks like we had great engagement at this time of day, especially for a Friday and a holiday Friday at that. So I think we might try to keep this time for a little bit, which is good. See if we like it. And I want you all to know I am praying for you. I am so unbelievably grateful for you. As an independent creator, it can be really difficult sometimes to just keep getting up and keep putting out content when you're not speaking to a ton of people and your audience isn't growing super fast. And I want you to know none of this would be possible without each and every one of you watching. Otherwise, I'm just like speaking out into the void. So thank you for spending part of your day with me every single day, for sharing the links to these streams, for hitting the subscribe and the follow button on whatever platform you're watching on right now. All of that is so immensely helpful to me to continue being able to tell truth to my generation every single day, and have the unbelievable honor and privilege of doing that. I am so grateful each and every one of the times that you guys take time out of your day to help support me and help support the content that we are doing. You may not think that I read all of your messages in the live chat, because there are a lot of them coming through, but I literally read every single one, and I am so grateful for every single one of you that is in this community. If you want more one-on-one FaceTime with me, Locals is the place to be for that. I respond to every single comment over there. We do special Locals exclusive only live streams that we're going to start getting ready to do over here. We have live chats that are going like literally all the time. If you want to be having a more intimate experience with myself and all of the content that we produce, go over to Locals. The link is in the chat. Have an unbelievably blessed Good Friday, a beautiful Easter with your family and your loved ones, and I will see you guys next week. God bless you. Have a great weekend.